Are you new to bass fishing, but you have a limited budget? In this three-part seminar I gave at the 2022 Western Washington Sportsman Show, I'm going to explain exactly how you can get into bass fishing on a budget. If you like our videos, make sure and give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon. That way when we have new videos come out, you'll be notified.
My name is Doug St. Denis. I'm a full-time sport fishing guide and charter captain. And today I'm going to teach you guys how to fish for bass on a budget. If you've been around bass fishing at all, you might think, how's that even possible, right? It's possible. These are the types of fish that we're pulling out of our Western Washington lakes, and bass are littered all up and down Western Washington in all sorts of sizes of water, okay? Really nice quality bass. If you do catch a 6-pound bass, submit it to Bassmaster Magazine, you will be in the magazine. So I honestly don't think there's any other sport fishing outside of possibly kokanee fishing that you have as many selections for bass fishing, okay? Everything from your boats to your rods, spinning, bait cast, braid, monofilament, copolymers, fluorocarbons, your spinning reels, bait casting reels, the list goes on. You look at hooks alone, they have literally thousands of styles of hooks within each brand. It's just mind-boggling. And then you've got all of the ways that you can rig your Ned rig, your Tokyo rig, Carolina rig, Texas rig. It just goes on. You can literally get out of control buying gear for bass, right? But do you need to do that? No, you don't. You know, what happens is we watch these guys on television and we see that they've got 16 to 20 rods on the deck, and when it's time to, okay, that didn't work, they just put that rod down, they grab another one and they're casting. Guys, they are fishing for a living. That's all they do. Some of these guys, especially getting into the elites, they're living in their vehicles or they're sleeping on the floor at someone's house. It's tough. It's really tough. So they need to compete at another level. You do not need to have a bunch of rods and reels to do this. Now I do because I take clients and I still fish tournaments. But to go out and successfully catch bass here in Western Washington, or for that matter, anywhere in this country, you don't need to have a boatload of gear and tackle. I'm gonna show you guys the minimum stuff you need to be successful getting bass year round. The only difference is speed and efficiency, right? If you've only got a couple rod and reels, or maybe you've got one, and it's a multi-purpose type rod, you're just sacrificing time in tying your new rig on and start casting and fishing. That's really all you're sacrificing. It's time. And you're not fishing for a living, i.e. trying to win a tournament, so it's not that big a deal, okay? So fishing on a budget, you can, just in tackle alone, you can spend thousands of dollars. Just in tackle. Plastics, crankbaits. I mean, I probably would say for the fact that I run bass trips outside of my salmon steelhead trips and my charter fishing trips, just for bass, I probably spend $2,000 a year in tackle. Soft plastics and hard baits. But then again, I'm doing it for my job, right? You fish with me, I want you to have all of those tools to your disposal, but you don't need to do that. There is, because I've been asked this question, well, I want to fish tournaments, can I budget fish for tournaments? Yes, you can. That's a discussion for another day, but if that's something that you're interested in getting into, I suggest you reach out to me. So today, here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the fishing from the bank versus fishing from a boat. We're going to talk about our equipment, all your rods, your main line, your leaders, your terminal tackle, etc. Right? We're going to get the basics. Then we're going to talk about some essential baits or lures that you need to have, okay? And then lastly, we're going to cover tackle organization, right? So, do I fish from the bank or do I fish from a boat? So here is the problem in Western Washington. Most of our lakes where you're going to find bass are completely surrounded by houses. You might have one park, you might not have any parks, or you might be lucky enough to have 2 parks. Can you catch fish from those dots? Yes, absolutely. Are you going to be very efficient at it? No, you're not. But at least you're not mowing the grass, right? You're fishing. So, if you're lucky enough to have a friend that lives on the lake, now you can maybe fish their property, something like that. There are some rivers that have bass in them. Certainly the Columbia River has bass, but the Chehalis system also has bass in it, right? Somebody introduced them there, and they're there. So, because bank access is limited, are you gonna go out and buy yourself an $89,000 bass boat, right? Now keep in mind, you're $60,000 to $80,000 for a brand new bass boat. You're another $28,000 in electronics and shallow water anchors, right? Very expensive investment. No, now you could buy something used, but we're still trying to fish within a budget. So here's a suggestion for you. Maybe a pontoon, right? It's getting you on the water. Are you going to launch at the south end of Lake Sammamish and pontoon all the way to the north end to get the largemouth on beds? No. But there's bass, smallmouth, and some largemouth that may not be spawning yet right there near the boat ramp that you can access. Now these pontoon boats have the ability to put small trolling motors on them, right? So that's one option. Here's another option that's gotten very popular, and that's kayaks, right? Now, you can get the traditional row yourself kayak, or you can get one that you pedal, right? Your feet are just going back and forth and you're getting propulsion. Johnson Outdoors with Old Town Kayak have come out with kayaks that have trolling motors in them. In fact, they now have a kayak division of Bassmaster Classic, and that's what those guys are fishing out of. And some of these kayaks are so stable that they can actually pop up and stand up and fish out of them, okay? So that's one option. Now, you may not know this, you can get into a kayak for as little as 300 bucks, right? But some of these kayaks are close to $4,000 or $5,000. Depends on the features and technology that you want for your kayak. You've got a Pelican Bass Raider. So I was just doing a little research, prepping for this seminar, and I saw this, and I was like, whoa, here's a very affordable option. Because unlike the pontoon, where it's just you're in the pontoon by yourself, you can put 2 guys in this. It's got a great weight capacity. This boat, you can stand up in it, super stable. They're less than $1,000. Less than $1,000. You don't have to have a specialized trailer. You could throw it in the back of your truck if you have that, or you could buy a very inexpensive flatbed trailer and put it on there, right? I mean, you can get a little bitty flatbed trailer from like Harbor Freight Tools for just a few $100s, right? All you need to add to it, deep cycle battery and a trolling motor. Now you have propulsion, right? This is pretty inexpensive, and now you have mobility on the water. Again, are you gonna go from Magnuson Park on Lake Washington up to the I-90 bridge? No. But you're gonna have better mobility in the areas that are close to you than if you didn't have a motor at all. What it really comes down, then we have homemade boats. I see homemade boats all the time. The most common thing I see is you have a John boat. A guy has a John boat and he's like, you know what? I want to make a bass boat. There's tons of videos on YouTube about how to turn a John boat into a pretty legitimate bass boat. that you're standing on the deck and you're able to do these techniques. So let's just point that out. Bass boats were designed the way you see them today so that they can cast underhand, skip under docks, right? It gives them more mobility on delivering their lures. That's the design of a bass boat. So when you are thinking of these boats that you're sitting low on the water, kayaks, pontoon boats, you're going to be doing casts like this. Casts like this are going to be possible? Yes, it's possible, but it's more challenging. Okay, does that make sense? But in the Pelican that I showed you a moment ago, or maybe a John boat that you have modified, now you're able to stand and you can get almost the same cast that a Bass Pro can get out of a bass boat. What it comes down to is boat control. If you're just out there in a boat and you don't have a motor to maybe spot lock or to position yourself or control yourself, and you're just kind of aimlessly wandering around, it becomes difficult to pinpoint cast, right? Now, when is that important? It's especially important for what's about to be coming up soon, and that's when the fish are on the beds. You need to be able to see the bed, you need to be able to cast past the bed, come into it so that you can catch fish. And then you also need to be able to control yourself around the docks and position your boat so that you can get those casts into those tight spots, right? So it's all about boat position. I like to throw a few tips in. UV is super damaging even here in Western Washington. You guys, if you have a boat or you have tackle or you have rods and reels, at the end of the day, get them out of the sun. UV will destroy your boat and your tackle, okay? You literally can bleach your rods out in about 2 weeks, okay? So keep the sun off of them. Any questions about bank versus boat? No? Okay. Rods and reels. Here's where, listen, if I had a group full of bass anglers, if I was giving this seminar in Texas, they'd be losing their mind right about now. But we're here in Western Washington, and we're going to talk about rods and reels. And what I think, there's two ways you can go about this. The first way, buy the rod, buy the reel to match, okay? So, least expensive route on St. Croix rods, which is one of my sponsors, is the Bass X rod. These are very affordable rods. They are designed for bass fishing. You have the correct length, you've got the correct power, they're great. In their casting rods for Bass X, they have 12 different models, so it suits all of the type of fishing you want to do, whether it's jerkbait, crankbait, swim bait, swimming jigs, or casting literally jigs that are on the bottom through heavy cover. They have a lot of models, okay? In the spinning, they have 4, and they're more multi-purpose, one of which is a little more specific to a technique. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but you've got quite a selection. Now, if you're gonna match a reel to it, I've got Abu Garcia reels on mine. So for a bait cast reel, a low profile, this Abu Garcia Max STX is the way to go, okay? I want to say it's about 84 bucks, right? Now, the Pflueger Tryon, either in the SP30 or the SP35, this is a great reel. I run these reels on all of my bass rods for my clients. These reels are a workhorse, just an absolute workhorse. $40. Really great price, okay? Instant anti-reverse, a great drag system. The only feature that the Tryon doesn't have is you can't flip the switch so the spool just free spools out, right? But really, you don't need that, right? Half the time we hit that switch on accident and we're like, what is going on here? Lines going everywhere, right? Right, yeah. Okay, so this is route 1. Route 2, oh, I see, yeah, that's not a bass casting reel. No, it's not. I'll talk to you about that reel.